Augmented and virtual reality are capable of so much more than just games, big screens, and entertainment. And I truly believe that the people who understand this early and can make use of it, can capitalize it, have a massive advantage over the ones who sleep on it and jump in way too late. The big problem with all of this technology is that all of this marketing hype and confusing statements and a lot of terminologies is creating a lot of unrealistic expectations. It also creates kind of a dystopian future. And unfortunately, it's also making people sick of hearing about it. And as somebody who has been working in this field for almost a decade now, I really get it. So who here is also sick about hearing the metaverse, Web3, whatever new hype is revolutionizing our entire human existence? Yeah, I can imagine. So after this talk, I want you to leave with a fresh and new and hopefully positive perspective on this technology. I promise I will keep this all hype, jargon, and buzzword free, and you will have a fundamental understanding of what is kind of like in the marketing hype, overreaction bullshit area, and what is actually useful and where is it already being deployed, saving companies millions of euros and also adding a lot of efficiencies. And finally, also how you can get started yourself. So now you may be thinking, let's just see if that works. Yeah, wonderful. So you may be thinking, okay, who's this guy talking on stage right now, and why should I listen to him? So my name is Dinesh. I have been working in the field for almost a decade now. I'm the founder and CEO of Immersive Insiders, which is an XR, so AR and VR, education and community platform, which builds the community. And we also work with companies like Meta in the XR field very closely, but also enterprise partners who already use XR. So companies like Puma, Cupra, Zalando, to really bring the community together with the enterprises. And we do this by our online platform, Immersive Insiders, but also organizing events like hackathons. Yeah, perfect. So this is something that we organized a few months ago where we had 200 developers or 150-ish developers creating a lot of experiences over the last couple of days. And otherwise, I'm a public speaker on this topic and talk a lot about it on my channel. Really, that XR is much, much more than just games and big screens. So today, we have a limited amount of time together. And I really want to start by kind of demystifying some of these confusing terms that are out there. I think this is something that is really important to kind of, for all of us to have a common ground also. Then we will talk about what actually happens when we move from 2D to 3D. I will have a lot of examples. I hope, fingers double crossed, that all of these videos work. I have a ton of videos and animations to really showcase how it works. And lastly, I will talk about how you can get started as an individual designer or as an organization. And then we have some open time for Q&A. So the big problem right now is honestly terminology. Like, that is a huge problem. I mean, we have VR, we have AR, we have MR, we have XR, we have spatial computing, all of these terms, immersive technologies, metaverse, and so many more. I mean, I just tried to keep it basic right now, but there's a lot of those. And honest question, so who here is confused by all of those terminologies describing kind of the same thing? Yeah, I see a bunch of hands. You can be honest. Because, spoiler alert, everybody is. And that's why I want to use the first couple of minutes to kind of like redefining and, really important, simplifying some of these terms, because it's kind of like a very fluid thing. These names just change over time. And this is something that a lot of people, even in the industry, are kind of like unsure about, to be honest. And that is why we don't have to be so stiff and so like detailed about this exact term. And that is why it's more like a spectrum. It's not black and white. And let's see, that animation should hopefully be working. It will be loading in a minute, I guess so. But 1 second. Let's see. Here it's animating, but never mind. Ah, yeah, there we go. So we first of all, let's start with virtual reality. This is usually the easiest term. You generally put on a VR headset, and the important thing here is that you don't see your physical environment anymore. So if I would put on a VR headset, I would not see any of you and be fully immersed in this virtual field. And with my rubber duck over here, you basically have a virtual environment and you have virtual objects and characters inside of it. Next, we have mixed reality, and this is kind of a newer-ish term already, being used in a lot of different ways, to be honest. So this is already where we see this is kind of slowly blending together. Mixed reality, as you can see, we are actually, first of all, scanning our room, and then integrating the physical reality more with our virtual world. So for example, I could be now scanning the stage, and then I could be seeing that there's a stage below, for example, and then I can see part of you guys as well. And it's really the big blend of merging the physical reality and the virtual reality together. Lastly, here again with the rubber duck, so we have a physical reality which also can have virtual elements. So you can have like a portal in the wall, you can have things coming up from the floor, all of those things are possible. And then generally we also have AR, which is, let's see, yeah, there we go, where you typically have these like phone-based use cases, these Pokemon Go's or these IKEA places, I think it's called, where you kind of have a fully physical environment, so you can see the real world, and you, in quotes, just add digital content on top of it. So all three of those, the important thing here is, over time, they will blend together more and more and more, to be honest. Because pretty much all modern VR headsets, so whether it's the Meta Quest Pro or the Apple Vision Pro, and you see I already talked about this, I call this a VR headset, and I think Apple would not be happy with that. But that is something that is coming more and more together, because most of these VR headsets, they have MR capabilities. If you have an AR headset, you can basically have a fully virtual environment also, then it's also MR, which is, and this hopefully will make it very simple for all of you and for us in the industry. The best one to actually call it is XR, which is an umbrella term covering all of these realities that are kind of like merging and changing together anyways. The last thing is you can also use interchangeably spatial computing. I mean, that's just like Apple's newest word that they want to now use, because they want to have their own word, of course, Apple being Apple. And also you can use immersive technologies, which is something that we used like 5, 6, 7 years ago, because I already saw that VR is morphing a lot into other basic areas. Lastly, for the cleanup here, what about the metaverse? So this is also something where there's a ton of confusion, and if you would ask like 20 people, you would get 30 different answers on this. And let me give you my kind of like simple explanation on how you can see this, to be honest, and to not get it confused with so many other things. So the metaverse is a virtual shared space where people interact with digital environments and each other in real time. So those three things, virtual shared space, people interacting in real time, these are the critical moments. And you can see that I never mentioned any VR headset or any kind of AR, MR headset, like no headsets actually needed, because we could even see those as a metaverse, basically. If we have World of Warcraft, you have people interacting in real time with each other. Same goes for Roblox or Fortnite. I mean, these things are more, in quotes, metaverse than the stuff that is portrayed as that, which are those, for example. Because on Fortnite, you even have like virtual concerts, like kids chilling together, watching like these virtual concerts together, and really just having a good time in this virtual space. And again, these are also pretty good examples on like these, in quotes, VR-based metaverses. So that is a bit of cleanup. Again, the simplified version is you can use the term XR or spatial computing, it's also fine. And for the metaverse, it's not the same as a VR headset, so these are kind of different things, because I hear a lot of people telling me, hey, is the metaverse dead, so why should I have this headset? And fortunately, you're all sitting here, and we will talk about some concrete, actual, useful applications and use cases that we can use using these technologies, and this is what I want to talk about next. So, is it coming? Oh yeah, there we go. So what happens to XR when our world becomes our canvas? So first of all, we are 3D creatures. We are humans. We can walk back and forth, left and right, up and down. I don't want to jump now, but we are not really 2D people, basically. And currently, we still have, because of technological limitations, we are still bound to the screen. But if we add this new dimension, if we embrace the, in quotes, third dimension, we open up a ton of new possibilities. I mean, we can break the laws of physics. We can shrink into the tiny size of a human cell, for example, and be inside of the human body instead of just reading about it in a book. Or we can expand to the size of the universe and holding everything in our hand. I mean, there's like billions of interesting cases. We can have like elements, meshing them together, and then we have like all of these molecules. We can travel in the past and be inside of the past and experience it. We can showcase alternative realities in the future, for example. So there's a lot of possibilities that are available there, and really our creativity becomes our limit here. And big disclaimer before anybody throws tomatoes at me. One important thing here is that I'm not gonna say that this will completely reduce or like eliminate our use for 2D screens. This is not about replacing our human existence to the metaverse or something like this. A lot of people ask me, hey, when are we fully living in this thing? That is not what I want to say, or that is not what's the message of this talk also. We will still use phones, we'll still use books and read about stuff. We will still have photos, maybe at some point also spatial photos. We will still meet face to face, have sweaty handshakes, and just travel to places. All of this is kind of like used to work together. I really want you to see these technologies, now XR, now you know, XR as a tool rather than some ultimate grand vision or something like this. And this is why I think one big thing is that XR is much more than just games. This has kind of been my go-to phrase for the last couple of years, to be honest, because a lot of people are still like stuck in the mindset that we only use it for games, it's only for gamers, but I'm here to show you a couple of interesting use cases. And let's see, yeah, there's some videos now. I have a couple of categories, so I have 3 like already published use cases. A lot of those, I have 3 use cases of projects our community built within a few days, and then I have a couple of use cases where I was personally building them over the last couple of years. And really to kind of give you some inspiration, to give you some ideas on what is possible. So first of all, we have fitness use cases. I mean, quite obvious, you can put on the headset and you have a gamified way of exercising, which is already incredible. I mean, anybody who played Beat Saber on Expert already knows you really get to sweating, and same for many other use cases. Also, it's really possible to use it for simulation and training purposes. So this is, for example, a flight simulation where pilots get trained into VR. The interesting thing is it applies to literally anything. So this could be handling machines, this could be in the car, this could even be like firefight simulation, because anything that is dangerous in real life, it's no problem in VR. If you mess up on a big bulky machine and then you lose your arm, you're kind of screwed, you have one arm less. If it happens in VR, nothing really happens except for the shock, and then you kind of learn these steps even better. And that is why I talk a lot about training use cases. So here's one example where Toyota, for example, saved millions and millions and millions of euros or dollars by training thousands of people at the same time in different locations on how to operate their garage, their machines, and all of that stuff. So you can have a multi-user training with one trainer, for example, and dozens of people across the world to train all together in one virtual space. And this, I mean, you can imagine how much time, money, headaches, and resources this can save. And lastly, there's one also very interesting use case about education. I'm very deep and very passionate about education. And here we can also see where I was talking about the human being. This was more like an MR experience, for example. I have much more detail on my TEDx talk. You can just Google my name and TEDx and you see like it in more detail. But here, of course, we can visualize anything. So this doesn't have to be only the human body. This could be also physics, nature, and any other field, of course. Now, you may think, okay, cool, this is all amazing, but I don't have 10 billions of budget to build a flight simulation training use case. So I get you, and this is why I'm a very big proponent of using things like hackathons. And here I really want to show you some cases where the hackathon I was talking about, XR CreatorCon, we work with companies like Zalando, Puma, and Cupra, and again, Meta. We had like 30 plus projects. I can't show you all of them, but these were like projects where these guys created this in 2 days. I mean, that is crazy. They built like a clothing simulator where you can change clothes, you can change environments, and really kind of get into the designing. Another team, they went really creative, let's say. They built like some massage things. All the people were doing this voluntary, so there nobody was forced to do something. But really, you can like showcase how you do the massage spots and everything. Again, it can be incredible for physical therapy as well, and many other use cases. Speaking of the fashion industry, so we already had the clothing generator. One team came up with the idea, why not having a kind of like a virtual space where you can take these clothes and put these stitches together in VR. You see it on your clothes, and then you can basically cut it out. And that also saves a ton of paper, a ton of extra work, and it really enhances your workflow in any creative field that you want to do. And lastly, we had companies, we had Cupra also as sponsor that also gave us a nice car shuttle. And all the teams actually, except for one, I think, all the teams were building something with the headset on the car itself. Because these headsets are now intelligent enough that they can detect all of these surfaces. You can build something based on the floor, based on the walls, but also based on objects like a freaking car. And again, just think about that, has been built in 2 days. If they would have like 2 months or like 2 years, they could really build some flashy experience on that. So you can integrate it with pretty much any object that you can think about. And now a bit more cases where I was personally involved in also. I think one thing which I'm really passionate about is talking about healthcare and how we can use this. In 2017, this was actually my first VR job, basically. We were using the VR headsets to treat or like to help stroke patients. So I will go about this very quick. Again, I talk about this case also on my TEDx talk, but now we don't have super much time. But imagine you had a stroke, you can't move your left arm anymore. The conventional therapy is called mirror therapy. You put a mirror in front of you and you kind of like do the exercises with the trainer. We built a VR system that was scanning the hand, so it was tracking the hand movement, and it was mirroring inside of VR. And this helped us to kind of scale the whole thing, to scale the whole project. And then with the help of eye tracking, I think we see it somewhere there, we also could see how well the patient was performing and how well the patient was actually looking at his or her hand and really doing all of these exercises. And then with the VR, eye tracking and machine learning algorithms, we could kind of build like a gamified version for these stroke patients to regain their abilities. And this is just crazy that this has been built in 2017. I mean, that was a limited research project of Technical University Berlin, but that is also one thing. And another thing is that you can also use it for storytelling. I think this is something a lot of people here are very passionate about, that you can bring people inside of your story. This was kind of like a light bulb manufacturing company that wanted to showcase their vision. But also here, if you have any cause, if you have any story that you want to showcase, if you have any person that you want to really like show how it is to feel this way, you can also use the fully VR version on that because you are fully immersed in this field. And again, we have it for manufacturing, so you can show it for big machines and also for interior design. And this is also something where I'm really passionate about. That was my last job before I went all in onto my own company. But think about this when you see a 2D representation of my kitchen. So now on the left you see, okay, that's my kitchen. You see there's a fridge, there's a small table, and there's some stuff around. We built this thing in IKEA, that's also not too bad. But now think about how amazing it would be. Let's see if this video plays. Yeah, it does play. How crazy it would be to have on a mixed reality headset and then really have it built inside of this place over here where you can kind of like see how far all of these things are. You can change it in real time. You can switch your layout. So you have a literal what you see is what you get. You are actually inside of your kitchen. And that is something that we have been actually building that was really working well. So we were working with kitchen sellers, I guess, and they could massively increase the retention of the customers. Customers were freaking out because it was so cool. And we did this with offices and with kitchens back then. And again, just showing that there's so much more than just games and big screens. Now, I think one important thing is now, how do you get started? And I want to take this from two angles. I want to take this from the designer perspective and the organization perspective. So first of all, as a designer, and of course, again, we don't have super much time. I can't give a full curriculum on that. But again, for that, feel free to check out my YouTube channel. I have a ton of videos on that. That's, by the way, how Damien found me and invited me to come here. And first of all, you want to get fully immersed in the field. What does it mean? You want to play a lot of games because you will learn a lot by playing games. Like these interaction concepts they have, they are crazy good actually. They are really, really, really like fleshed out also. Try out apps and experiences. Also try out experimental things on conferences, on hackathons, on the unofficial stores, because there you see how freaking shitty 90% of applications are and how really we as an industry need you designers to help us to build something that is actually enjoyed by users. Because imagine if developers build all of the UX for people, they have a different mindset than you guys as designers. So that is why there's a huge need for having more UX in XR. And the cool thing is, this is something that gets reflected a lot in the industry as well. So we are working with Meta and Shapes.XR on, I mean, I can't give any details, but on a big project exclusively for designers. So this is like a really good green flag, I would say. There's a lot of like recognition coming that we need this extra industry as well. And otherwise, really like check out videos. There's meetups, podcasts, all of this available. And I really want to see how this can kind of like shape our future as well. And then the best thing, of course, is hackathons, because that is the best way you can learn something, you can meet people. It's kind of like all of those things combined in one nice event. Now some concrete things that you can also do. You can also use, of course, there are a lot of tools. I guess I don't need to introduce Figma to you guys. I think that's pretty clear already. There are 3D creation tools also, like Blender. Really powerful, really amazing. The other bucket of tools that you might need, or that you probably will need, are game engines. So in general, there's Unity and Unreal, which I can highly recommend. The whole industry is basically based on these two engines. So these are extremely essential, extremely powerful. And the really nice thing, there's also now dedicated XR design prototyping tools like Shapes.XR, which kind of is like the Figma for XR. And they are really amazing. You actually build the experience inside of the VR headset. And that is also really freaking powerful. And then lastly, Bezier is also like a nice tool where you have a web-based XR prototyping. So these tools are available now, which is really cool. Now, I have a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about as an organization what you can do. And really, I want to break it down into a couple of do's and don'ts. So in general, you really don't want to, first of all, you want to identify a real use case. I've given you a lot of examples already that are really helpful to kind of figure out how do you save money, how do you improve efficiency, how do you actually have something that helps people. You want to prototype before implement. A lot of people and companies don't know that there are these tools like Shapes.XR and Bezier available. So this is something kind of like iterating on a concept in 2D. And lastly, you want to consult with experts in the industry, because I talk to companies who spend millions on stuff that makes no sense. And if they would just talk to me or somebody else, they could have saved a ton of time and money also. Which leads me to the don'ts. So in general, you don't want to build the next big metaverse platform. That is not something, for 99% of cases, it's not helping you in big ways. Actually, it costs a lot of money. You also don't want to jump on FOMO and hypes. And a lot of companies do this. They are like, hey, we need to have this right now, but really evaluate where it doesn't make sense, where it does not make sense. And lastly, also, you don't want to do it for the sake of XR. This is something like a lot of technology people, my past self included, they just see like a nice, cool technology and they just build it because they think the technology is so great. And one last thing that I want to kind of give to you is, I truly believe that the innovation is in the XR community. These people are really, really like phenomenal in building things really fast and really being engaged in this. And I think designers and developers and companies, they need all to play together to really bring these use cases that are now being adopted more and more and more. So the interesting part is now these sponsors I had at our hackathon, they are now, some of them are now working with these teams to implement the project, which is just the best case you can have really. And again, there's a ton of experience that came out, but of course I don't have time to show all of this. I will skip the video, I guess, also, because it's too long. To really recap everything, XR is more than just games and big screens and entertainment. There's a lot of ways we can use it. It's very versatile. It's not the metaverse, so there's two different things. think about the metaverse as one application of this whole technology. It's like one small bubble that you can use it for. And then you can use the term XR because you don't need to be differentiating between all of those technologies. And lastly, I truly believe that innovations in the community, so people like you coming to those conferences, working together with other developers, working together in this field. And I'm really, really excited to kind of push forward more this narrative. Fortunately, like this small AR, VR industry is now getting more and more recognition in quotes, being showcased at these type of events. People see it more and more. And I think this is really like a positive outlook, much more than a dystopian metaverse future, really. And yeah, that's it. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to know more about those topics. I talk a lot about it. I mean, right now we had limited time, but really would love to talk to all of you because, again, we really need designers. We are working to create projects with designers now, officially from Meta, which is awesome. And I think the next couple of years will be really awesome. And I'm pretty optimistic about it. Thank you.